Okay, so picture this. You're in that doctor's office, right? The sterile smell, that crinkly paper sound.
Yeah, familiar setting.
You're thinking, okay, common cold, maybe I pulled something. Simple stuff.
Routine checkup.
But then the vibe changes. The doctor's expression, it just drops. That professional smile,
Yeah.
gone.
And you see that look of, well, confusion, maybe even a little bit of fear.
Exactly. Because what's happening to you,
Yeah.
it just shouldn't be possible. It makes no sense.
Defies the textbooks.
So tonight, we're diving deep into the really strange stuff. 3 medical cases where the human body basically went rogue.
Cases that genuinely baffled the medical community, left them completely stumped.
Yeah, scratching their heads, maybe not sleeping so well after. So have you ever stopped to think, what if your own body just betrayed you? Out of the blue.
It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Okay, so let's really get into these. We're looking at some truly profoundly unsettling medical situations here.
Definitely not your run-of-the-mill stuff.
No, not at all. These are like edge cases, the far fringes of what can happen to a person, things that really challenge how we understand biology, even the mind itself.
And the sources we looked at, they really drive home how mysterious and, frankly, creepy these cases were for the doctors involved.
Absolutely. The sense of unease is palpable in the accounts.
Okay, so first stop, England. We've
Yeah.
got Emma, 19 years old, college student, life ahead of her.
Right.
Then one night, like clockwork, 9 p.m. rolls around, and something truly bizarre starts. Not a cough, not a rash,
Good.
but bleeding from her eyes.
Tears of blood.
Yeah, just flowing. No cuts, no injury, zero explanation. Doctors went nuts running tests.
Everything, I assume. Blood work, scans.
Everything. Blood disorders, trauma checks, nada, negative. On paper, Emma was perfectly healthy.
Except for this nightly horror show.
Exactly. Crimson tears every single evening.
Wow, the precision itself is odd. 9 p.m. exactly.
Precisely. And that's what's so striking, right? The term they use is Appalachia. It exists technically.
Yeah, it's in the books, but it's usually, linked to something. An infection, a tumor, severe hypertension, maybe a clotting issue.
Right. There's normally a reason. But the sources are clear. For Emma, absolutely no trigger could be found.
Which takes it from just rare to, well, a genuine medical puzzle. Makes you question what our tests can actually detect, doesn't it?
Totally. And then it got even weirder.
Oh, how so?
Kallmekris, like you said, super rare. Almost a footnote. But the scans, they showed nothing. Zero.
No burst blood vessels, no inflammation, nothing physically wrong they could point to.
Nothing. It was like the blood was just manifesting. Poof.
That's deeply unsettling. So the structure is fine, but it's leaking blood.
Pretty much. And just when the doctors were thinking, okay, this is the weirdest thing ever, it escalated.
Uh-oh.
The bleeding wasn't just from her eyes anymore. It started happening elsewhere, other parts of her body.
Oh, wow. Okay, that changes things dramatically.
Right. Suddenly the question wasn't just, how do we stop the eye bleeding? It became like, what are we even fighting here? What unseen thing could cause this?
That spread is key. Isolated hemolacria, maybe you could eventually find some tiny hidden vascular thing, but spreading, that suggests something systemic.
Or something else entirely.
Or something else entirely, yeah. Something maybe not purely physical in the way we usually think. It really forces you to consider mechanisms we just, don't understand yet. Pushes the known boundaries.
Okay, let's jump continents. We're in Brazil now. Meet Miguel, young guy, goes to the clinic. Complaint, a rash.
Okay, sounds straightforward enough. Annoying, maybe itchy, but common.
That's what you'd think. Get some cream, maybe an antihistamine.
Yeah.
But no, this wasn't your garden variety rash. Because this rash, it was moving.
Moving? How? Like spreading quickly?
No, I mean literally moving, shifting, wriggling under his skin.
Oh, God.
You could apparently see these tiny dark trails of little worms just weaving and curling around right below the surface. His arm, I think it was initially.
Okay, that description alone, instant goosebumps. That hits a primal fear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something inside you that shouldn't be. Violates your sense of, bodily integrity.
Totally. The sources definitely play on that visceral horror. So first guess from the docs, fungal infection.
Makes sense for a weird skin thing initially. Common misdiagnosis.
But it wasn't fungus. It wasn't microscopic. They found parasites. Actual visible parasites.
Oh no, bot flies.
You got it. Human botfly larvae. Dermatobia hominis. They burrowed under his skin. And they were alive. Growing. Feeding on him.
Ugh. So he wasn't just sick.
He was literally being eaten. From the inside out. Can you even wrap your head around feeling that?
It's hard to fathom. It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable we are, isn't it? That nature has these pretty gruesome survival strategies. Our bodies are just environments to some organism.
Unwelcome guests, for sure.
Absolutely. And the botfly life cycle itself is, well, disturbingly clever in how it gets those larvae into a host. Nature finding a way, I guess, even if it's horrifying for the host.
Right. Now, listening to this, you might be thinking, okay, whoa, that's nightmare fuel, but super rare, right? Freak occurrences.
And statistically, yes, these specific conditions are extremely rare. Outliers.
But maybe hold that thought for a sec, because parasites, generally, much, much more common than we like to admit.
Oh, absolutely. They're everywhere, often unseen, unexpected places.
So maybe don't feel too safe. But okay, let's pivot slightly. Because sometimes the horror isn't a bug burrowing under your skin. Sometimes it comes from your own mind turning against you.
That's a crucial point. The shift from an external biological invader to an internal psychological fracture, it shows how complex what's wrong can be, not always something you can see under a microscope.
Which brings us to Paris. And a woman known only as Madame X.
Ah, yes. A classic, deeply unsettling case.
She shows up at a hospital, and her claim is just staggering. She says she's dead.
Not feeling like death or wishing she was dead, but literally factually deceased.
Exactly. Unequivocally dead. A walking corpse. And she had one demand.
Let me guess. Burial.
Yep. She wanted to be buried. She refused all food.
Why?
Because, as she put it with this, chilling logic, dead people don't need to eat.
The diagnosis being Cotard's delusion.
Cotard's delusion, sometimes called walking corpse syndrome. It's this rare, bizarre mental condition where your brain essentially convinces you that you don't exist or that you're dead or putrefying.
It's a profound breakdown in the sense of self, isn't it? That fundamental feeling of, I am alive. Imagine the brain circuitry responsible for that just shutting off or misfiring so catastrophically.
It's hard to comprehend. And the most disturbing part, the paradox.
Here are her vital signs.
Totally normal. Her heart was beating fine. She was breathing, temperature normal. Physically, she was alive and functioning.
But her subjective reality, her unwavering belief was the complete opposite. She was dead as far as her mind was concerned.
It was like her mind just hit delete on her own existence. Which leaves you with this really heavy question, doesn't it?
Yeah. If the mind, the sense of self, completely lets go of being alive, how long does the body just keep going on autopilot? What's that link?
How long can the body follow when the mind checks out? It really probes that mind-body connection, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. While Cotard's doesn't necessarily cause immediate physical collapse, it highlights just how powerful our mental state, our beliefs about ourselves are for our overall physical reality. What does life even mean when the conscious perception of it is gone?
Okay, think about the doctors here. In all these cases. For Emma, this timed, inexplicable bleeding. They did test after test, right? Isolated her, watched her. No answers, just blood.
A complete biological anomaly staring them in the face.
Then Miguel. That required, well, pretty invasive stuff. Literally peeling back skin, pulling out these twitching larvae. Gruesome but necessary.
A physical problem, yes, but a deeply disturbing one to treat. Requires a strong stomach.
And Madame X. They had to force feed her, keep her physical body alive while her mind insisted it was already gone.
Sustaining a body against its perceived reality. Each case pushed the limits in a different way.
Exactly. Standard medicine, the usual tests, they just hit a wall. The results kept coming back normal, or at least not explaining this level of weirdness.
Which is where medicine gets truly challenging. When the rule book doesn't apply, when the known pathologies don't fit.
So what do you do then? When science gives you shrugs? What's left?
It really highlights the limits of our current understanding, doesn't it? It forces humility. You have to acknowledge that there are things we just don't know, phenomena that fall outside our neat categories. It pushes research, hopefully, but in the moment, for those doctors, deeply frustrating and maybe even a little scary.
So what happened? Did they find answers? Well, sort of. Emma's bleeding. It eventually stopped.
Just like that.
Just as mysteriously as it started. Poof. Gone. Still no definitive why.
So no closure, scientifically speaking, just resolution of symptoms.
Pretty much, Miguel.
Yeah.
He survived, pulled through the infestation. But he had scars, physical reminders of those inhabitants.
A permanent mark of that ordeal. Understandable.
In Madame X, years of psychiatric care, she did improve. She started to reconnect with the idea of being alive. But apparently for a long time there was this lingering doubt. Was she really alive?
That deep psychological wound might never fully heal, even if the outward symptoms lessen. That core belief being shattered. It's profound.
So the body heals sometimes. The mind can find its way back sometimes. But maybe the deeper parts of us, the soul, whatever you want to call it, maybe that remembers things differently.
Holds on to the echoes of these extreme experiences.
Yeah, maybe some of these things aren't meant to be solved in a neat medical box. Maybe they're more like warnings or glimpses into corners of existence we don't usually see, darker corners.
That lack of a neat conclusion is, I think, part of what makes these stories stick with you. That lingering uncertainty, it suggests our grasp on biology, on consciousness, isn't as complete as we sometimes like to think. There's still vast territory beyond the map.
Right. It's unsettling. That idea of glimpses into the unknown, it reframes these not just as medical problems, but as maybe something else.
It certainly challenges a purely mechanistic view of the body and mind.
So maybe the next time you get a weird itch or a strange twinge, or just that feeling like something's off, just take a second. Think about Emma bleeding on schedule. Think about Miguel feeling movement under his skin. Think about Madame X. Sure, she was a corpse.
Reminders of the body's potential for strangeness.
Exactly. Our bodies, our minds, they're amazing, resilient things.
Yeah.
But they can also throw mysteries at us that science can't easily explain away.
And sometimes, maybe the point isn't finding the perfect answer.
Maybe it's just about surviving the question, navigating that unsettling unknown.
Living with the mystery.
Good night.
And stay curious.